let's hear from Tulsi herself. She was talking over the summer with my former colleague, wonderful woman, Maria Bartiromo, about all of this. Let's listen.
There's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency and subverting the will of the American people. So yes, next week we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place and the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something about it. And that's really the point here that I think is most important, Maria, and you said it in your opening. Accountability is essential for the future of our country, for the American people to have any sense of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. Accountability, action, prosecution, indictments for those who are responsible for trying to steal our democracy is essential for us to make sure.
Because the point is that they were trying to undermine democracy. They were trying to steal our democracy, our great republic, effectively by making it really, really difficult for the incoming president who had been elected by the people. I mean, he won the Electoral College. You can complain about the popular vote all you want, Hillary Clinton, but next time around, he won it all, right? Popular vote and Electoral College. But he had won the Electoral College, and instead of, say, assisting him in the transition, they did everything they could to make his life utterly miserable and basically get rid of him as fast as they could. We know this. And again, Tulsi outlines it. I want to go through what she's saying. You saw the document I just showed you from Obama's office, the memo, and I've got additional memos I want to show you. But this is a big deal. This is what he's going to have to answer for.
Leading at the helm, President Obama and his senior-most national security cabinet, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Susan Rice, and others, essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the will of the American people, who in November of 2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people, and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would be
as a means to basically undermine the entire presidency of one Donald Trump. You know it, I know it, and he's mad about it. And he said, just a short time ago, he read through what Tulsi had put out, and he said, look, I think Brennan's going to be in trouble, along with a few other people along the way, right?
On what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room, right here. This was the room.
Mm-hmm. So that was the meeting that I was talking about. I mean, look, Obama's furious. I want to get to his response, but before I do, I think it's important to sort of outline what indeed was going on, because you had certain things. Before we get to December 7th, let's actually get first to September 5th, 2016, okay? So September 5th, 2016, this is before the election. You had an FBI official asking for a change in the draft of a potential ICA on cyber threats, writing, quote, the way it currently reads, it would indicate that we have definitive information that Russia does intend to disrupt our elections and that we are uncomfortable making that assessment at this point. And an official from an unnamed agency added on, I sort of understood the emphasis to be on Russia probably not having the capability to influence the election, right? So here they are saying they didn't have the influence. And then you fast forward to after the election, which would be December 7th, 2016, Clapper's office prepared a text for the presidential daily briefing heading activity on and since election day that read, and I quote, we assess that foreign advisories did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the U.S. presidential election outcome this year. We have no evidence of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter the results. Okay, so that seems kind of clear and concise. But then by the next day, December 8th, officials had a new text that they prepared to read saying Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results, because they wanted to make it sure it wasn't just cyber stuff. They wanted to make sure everybody knew that there was no malicious attack on any kind of election infrastructure. The wording was scheduled to be entered in the public record. Okay, actually not a public, just what they call a PDB, not a public report, but a confidential briefing to President Obama the very next day, which would have been December 9th. However, Comey's FBI on the afternoon of the 8th unexpectedly withdrew this. They took it away. And so now you're like, well, wait, why would they have taken it away? They said instead, FBI is going to be drafting a dissent this afternoon. Please remove our seal and annotations of co-authorship. About an hour later at 4:53 that afternoon, they said an official from Clapper's office asked the PDB for the time being, quote, based on some new guidance, we are going to push back publication of the PDB. It will not run tomorrow and is likely not going to run until next week. So what was going on? Well, they had to have their big meeting, right, with Barack Obama, because they had to figure out just exactly how they were going to spin this thing. I mean, he couldn't believe that Hillary Clinton didn't win. I mean, I know we're going back in time, but gosh darn it, we gotta, right? Look at who was in that meeting. I mean, you had Susan Rice, you had John Kerry, Andrew McCabe, James Clapper, you had Avril Haines, Lisa Monaco, Ben Rhodes, a lot of important people, Loretta Lynch, etc. And all of a sudden, there was kind of a new directive. And the new directive then that followed was that the intelligence community is, quote, prepared to produce an assessment per the president's request. That pulls together the information we have on the tools Moscow used and the actions it took to influence the 2016 election. You see that? That's in plain sight. An explanation of why Moscow directed these activities and how Moscow's approach has changed over time, going back to 2008 and 2012 as reference points. Whoa! Okay, so there you have it. This came, allegedly, from an order at the very tippy top. Okay, so they had this meeting, and all of a sudden, everything that they were going to say, it changes. Why? Because apparently they wanted to be able to say what the media wound up saying. I mean, they queued it up, did they not? And they had their lackeys ready to deliver and carry that message coast to coast. Watch.
Russia hacking the election to elect Trump is the end of our democracy. Votes were definitely affected. Russia hacked the election to tilt it to Mr. Trump.
The Russians definitively hacked the election.
Russia did hack the election.
No doubt. The Russians hacked the election.
Yes, Russia hacked the election.
Fact, Russia hacked the election.
President-elect Donald Trump still not sounding convinced that Russia hacked the election.
The president does not want to come to terms with the fact that the Russians hacked the election.
President Trump says he still wonders if the Russians hacked the election.
If you can get them to accept,
like, how dare he? How dare he wonder that? Because you see, the intelligence has since discovered that no, they didn't. I mean, they had some social media accounts that, played along the way. And maybe we're having some influence somewhere, but let's be really clear. What has come out is that the Russians didn't actually want Trump to win necessarily, nor Hillary. They just kind of wanted to play with us, right? Divide and conquer. And boy, oh boy, when you get Obama at the helm, he did Putin's job for him. Let's be really clear. He did Putin's job for him. Take a look at, this guy. He was a couple of jobs ago, Chris Wallace, who used to work at Fox and then used to work at CNN. I don't know where he works now, but he's asking President Trump shortly after the election, right? Because nobody's believing he's president. You had Jimmy Carter coming out. He's saying, oh, he's not a legitimate president. He was put there by the Russians. Oh, okay, like this is bad stuff, guys. And Trump knew what was going on. Watch.
According to the Washington Post, the CIA has concluded that Russia intervened in the election to help you win the presidency. Your reaction?
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just another excuse. I don't believe it. I don't know why. And I think it's just, they talked about all sorts of things. Every week it's another excuse. We had a massive landslide victory, as you know, in the Electoral College. I guess the final numbers are now at 306, and she, down to a very low number. No, I don't believe that at all.
You say you don't know why. Do you think that the CIA is trying to overturn the results
No, I
of
don't
the
think they're
election or
saying
somehow to weaken you in office?
Well, if you look at the story and you take a look at what they said, there's great confusion. Nobody really knows. And hacking is very interesting. Once they hack, if you don't catch them in the act, you're not going to catch them. They have no idea if it's Russia or China or somebody. It could be somebody sitting in a bed someplace. I mean, they have no idea.
So why would the CIA put out the story that the Russians wanted you to win?
Well, I'm not sure they put it out. I think the Democrats are putting it out because they suffered one of the greatest defeats in the history of politics in this country. And frankly, I think they're putting it out. And it's ridiculous. We ought to get back to making America great again, which is what we're going to do. And we've already started the process.
Unbelievable, right? Just the whole thing's so unbelievable. And now we're learning that allegedly Brennan did have a hand in putting this out and may have allegedly lied to Congress when he was asked about all of this. Of course, he's freaking out right now. I showed you some sound the other day. He looked like he was ready to cry, right, on the set at MSNBC saying, no, I've been over everything I did. I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, these guys are very, very clever. Here he is again, just as all of this came out from Tulsi this summer, insisting on his innocence. And of course, MSNBC playing along with the ride.
To preserve what we believe to be our democracy.
And it's particularly important for people who I think are nonpartisan or apolitical like me. I'm not a registered Democrat or Republican. I eschew politics, quite frankly. I served 6 presidents, 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. I didn't agree with all the policies of any of them, but yet I respected them. I thought that what they were doing was what they thought was in the best interest of the United States. But our institutions, the Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, Defense Intelligence Agency, all of these really are so critically important to our national security, but also global peace and security. And when we see these institutions being torn down and being used as political footballs, this is really detrimental to, I think, our interests as a country. And that's why I think it's important for people to speak out, not to do it for political reasons, but to call people out when they're saying things that are wrong, when they're misrepresenting, mischaracterizing the facts, because the American people are going to all the different news organizations, and they're being misinformed.
But God forbid anybody call you out,
so
right?
frankly, I don't.
Just to be very, very clear, we're not allowed to call you out. You guys made that really clear. I experienced it firsthand, okay? I can tell you my whole personal experience. So I know that only one side was allowed to call one side out. And we know how they did that and what they did. Here is Barack Obama's response to it all as Tulsi released this information. Again, we're going back in time a little bit. I mean, we're going way back in time, right? Back to 2016. But as Tulsi's revealed all of this, and she did so over the summer, the Senate, the House Judiciary Committee has been reviewing all this material as well. And so what we know today is that Jim Jordan has referred all of his gatherings and all of the intel that he was able to put together over to the DOJ, to Pam Bondi for review. So, you know who's really mad about it right now? Barack Obama. Here's what he has to say.
So breaking just moments ago, former President Obama's office responding after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard accused his administration of using, quote, manufactured intelligence about President Trump and Russia. Gabbard sending a referral to the Justice Department and calling for, quote, accountability. President Obama's office saying, quote, nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in 2020 in the report by the Bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then Chairman Marco Rubio. That report moments ago from President Obama's office, the story that we were discussing earlier in the hour.
Obama's got all the walls closing in around him. And he may be at risk here. I mean, he does have probably presidential immunity. He can thank Donald Trump for that one, right? But the other folks around him don't really have the same kind of immunity. I mean, I do know that there was a whole lot of auto pen stuff going on the last final days of the Biden administration to try and make sure everybody was off the hook. But I don't think it's going to get them that far, in part because, hey, if he didn't know what he was signing, we're going to get to that with KJP in a second, then really does any of that exist? I will tell you he's very mad and has been very mad about all of this. One, Rachel Maddow, who does her once a week show over there for now on MSNBC, she's basically declaring this some kind of version of, this is somehow, 1930s Germany. This is like authoritarian, you know what? And well, we know what she is, shall we say. I mean, she's a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but, you know, it's neither here nor there. Let's just at least listen to her sort of defense of Obama and the rest of them.
Life in the United States is profoundly changing, is profoundly different than it was even 6 months ago. Because we do now live in a country that has an authoritarian leader in charge. We have a consolidating dictatorship in our country. And it sounds melodramatic to say it. I know.
Yeah.
But just go with that for a minute, right? Think in melodramatic terms. Think in cinematic terms.
Oh, yes,
Imagine the cartoon-level caricature.
I'm sorry, but she is so cinematic in her flowery language that she tries to employ to take you down some kind of nut job or rabbit hole every day. But okay, let's humor her.
Of what you think a dictatorship looks like.
Huh.
I mean, it's secret police, right? A massive, anonymous, unbadged, literally
my gosh, oh 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 my gosh. I can't take the woman anymore because, you know, we don't need to see that kind of version of crazy here. But I want you to at least know what's out there, right? What did we hear the other day on The View? Oh, he's sending National Guard to Chicago, to California, so he can, quote, steal the election. This is the insanity. I mean, like, they have no options, guys. They're totally out of options. And so they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, okay? They got caught. It's all coming out. There's indictments every which way to Sunday. And now the media's answer is, oh, well, this is a dictatorship. And by the way, he's going to steal the midterms? I mean, you guys must be really desperate. And you think we're stupid for some reason.